Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. We're going to win, win, win. You're going to get so tired of winning. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. A chemical attack that was so horrific in Syria against innocent people, including women, small children, and even beautiful little babies. The United States stands with our allies across the globe to condemn this horrific attack and all other horrific attacks, for that matter. These heinous actions by the Assad regime cannot be tolerated. Right now, Syria is fighting ISIS. We have people that want to fight both at the same time.
They are both connected, and I believe that the United States of America can address both at the same time. We can walk and chew gum. We have the capability to do both.
But Syria is no longer Syria. Syria is Russia, and it's Iran, who she made strong, and Kerry and Obama made into a very powerful nation and a very rich nation very, very quickly, very, very quickly. I believe we have to get ISIS. We have to worry about ISIS before we can get too much more involved. She had a chance to do something with Syria. They had a chance, and that was the line. And this is what's caused the Great Migration, where she's taken in tens of thousands of Syrian refugees who probably, in many cases, not probably, who are definitely, in many cases, ISIS aligned, and we now have them in our country, and wait till you see, this is going to be the great Trojan horse, and wait till you see what happens in the coming years. Lots of luck, Hillary. Thanks a lot for doing a great job. Why can't they do it quietly? Why can't they do the attack, make it a sneak attack, and after the attack is made, inform the American public that we've knocked out the leaders, we've had a tremendous success. People leave. Why do they have to say we're going to be attacking Mosul within the next 4 to 6 weeks, which is what they're saying? How stupid is our country? Now, she talks tough. She talks really tough against Putin and against Assad. She wants to fight for rebels. There's only one problem. You don't even know who the rebels are.
Mr. Trump,
so
Mr.
what's
Trump,
the
your
purpose?
2 minutes
and one thing
is
I
up.
have to say,
your 2 minutes
I don't
is
like
up.
Assad at all, but Assad is killing ISIS. Russia is killing ISIS.
They took the babies out of the incubators.
Little babies.
Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
There is no doubt in the minds of U.S. military and intelligence analysts that Bashar al-Assad's regime did carry out this attack.
You are fake news.
It doesn't make any sense for Assad in these conditions to all of a sudden use poison gases. It's zero. I think it's zero chance that he would have done this, deliberately, and he's doing this now. But we could also go to a famous senator who's an expert on foreign policy, and we could go ask John McCain to explain it.
Let me ask you about what your colleague Rand Paul said about it this morning. He said it's a mistake to arm them. Most of the arms that we've given the so-called moderate rebels have wound up in the hands of ISIS because ISIS simply takes it from them, or it is given to them, and we mistakenly actually end up giving it to some radicals. How Look, things are very...
Has Rand Paul ever been to Syria? Has he ever met with ISIS? Has he ever met with any of these people? No. We're going to have a fight.
I am concerned about this report about Syrian rebels and the ceasefire with ISIS. Senator
Paul,
that's
not true.
Well,
it's not true.
It's not true.
Whether I don't care about the report. I know these people intimately. We talk to them all the time. Well, I think what the president did was an excellent first step, and it was a reversal of the last 8 years, and I think it was important. But it's now vitally important we develop a strategy, we put that strategy in motion, and we bring about peace in the region.
Why are you not listening to the people and staying out of Syria? It's not our fight.
I got your message, pal. And you need to also listen to the majority of the American people who do not want you to go there.
Activists say as many as 650 people have been killed in nerve gas attacks launched by government forces. The toxic assaults took place at rebel-held positions on the outskirts of Damascus.
We are highly skeptical of suggestions that the Assad regime could have or did use chemical weapons. We find it highly likely that any chemical weapon use that has taken place in Syria was done by the opposition.
There was an investigation of Ghouta back in 2013. The UN said that the rebels did it. Right. And it later came out, Seymour Hersh said that they mishandled chemical weapons, and that's what set off that explosion.
I kind of want 2017 Trump to take a page from 2013 Trump, but that was Trump prior to the assumption of power. That is the question, is once assuming the office, because of course if we look at the tweets that he tweeted out in 2013, right, during the last false flag operation where they thought that Assad had launched these weapons as chemical weapons, and it turned out that it was Saudi supplied weaponry that was mishandled by the rebels. And Trump tweeted out to Obama and said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but basically whatever you do, do not attack Syria. There's nothing in it for the United States.
He was very, very clear that we shouldn't go into Syria, and he was right. He said they're bad on both sides. We're going to be enabling ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Assad is fighting ISIS. It will create a refugee crisis. We'll have to take all these Syrian refugees.
Yeah, I would say that if you're Trump and you have Paul Joseph Watson, Lauren Southern, Mike Cernovich, who are not really feeling what you're doing, and you're having Chuck Schumer, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Brian Wilson feeling what you're doing, that's when you do a little reality check and you say, maybe I need to be careful about how far we take this, because the people who got me elected aren't feeling this.
Assad was fighting back against ISIS. This is why I'm angry, not only because I love Trump and everything that he's done. I'm angry because Assad is fighting ISIS. How stupid does this world need to be? You see a few pictures of injured children. Do you think the bombs that we throw down on Mosul, do you think they veer amongst the crowd? Do you think they miss the women and children and just pick out the men that are fighting? Do you think our bombs are targeted just at the bad guys?
This just in. The Trump train has been derailed. The Trump train has been derailed.
6 years now since the Syrian civil war started. I couldn't suddenly just come out and say, oh yeah, I've campaigned against this for 6 years and said that it would be a terrible idea. Hillary wanted to do it. Obama nearly did it. There was the big revolt within the military. We don't want to be Al-Qaeda's air force. So I can't suddenly just turn around and do a complete 180 and say, now that Trump's doing it, it's perfectly fine and I support it.
If we wanted meddling in the Middle East, there were other candidates to vote for. Trump was very clear, and he was very right. And that's why Trumpism will live on, whether or not he believes it anymore.
Who created the false flag? Is that the Trump administration at that point?
Firstly, when you say it's a false flag, the media reacts on how dare you question this? Look at the dead children. Yeah, that's horrible. We're not saying that people didn't die. We're not saying that this is horrible. We're saying let's look into it. Who has the motive? This ordnance, this munition was not dropped from the air, that it was exploded on the ground. You had the white helmets who were aligned with the jihadist rebels going in there, some of them without gloves, without masks, touching these victims. So there are numerous questions. There hasn't been a major investigation.
An attack allegedly carried out by the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad.
The white helmets are essentially being paid by the US, the UK, by the EU, by a number of these host nations, and then they're producing imagery that's being sent back through US media in order to sell the intervention effort, the humanitarian intervention effort.
It was a false flag. McCain wanted it to happen. They've been screaming to bomb Assad for years. Lindsey the sicko Graham wanted it to happen. Pelosi the warmonger wanted it to happen. Schumer the warmonger. CNN all wanted the bombing of Assad. Now you know you're on the wrong side. Assad was fighting ISIS, for God's sakes.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
As long as the United States being governed by this complex of military-industrial complex and the financial companies, banks, and this what called deep regime, and work for the vested interests of those groups, of course, it could happen anytime, anywhere, not only in Syria.
Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
If we see more Jared Kushner getting in there, turning our administration neocon, more Nikki Haley saying we have to depose Assad, more quagmire crap, then I'm going to drag him out by his heels. But right now, I'm banking on optimism, and I just see it as a giant fireworks display.
If he had done nothing, we wouldn't be talking about all this right now. We would be talking about Donald Trump as a weak leader, Donald Trump as Obama 2.0. When can we count on Donald Trump to take action? But the fact that he not only took action, but took swift and decisive action and did a good job with it, it had the effect that he wanted to do. So he was competent. This sent a message to the entire world that this is a man not to be messed with. Now, going forward, anytime Donald Trump makes a threat on the international stage, it has teeth.
We have CIA paperwork from the 1980s stating that they were going to try to create a quagmire in Syria. Listen, there are some things Donald Trump is doing that I don't like, but as far as Syria goes, don't jump off the Trump train. Trump is playing 4D chess. He's got to appease these deep state guys. He's playing the game. He wants to lure them out. He's trying to fulfill his agenda while trying to convince the swamp that he actually likes it, after he just went around the country campaigning about how much he hates it. And to be honest, it would seem like Russia and Assad didn't mind much. Just relax, don't freak out, and let's MAGA.